Hey everybody, David Costello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm. Today we have a returning guest. It's Roger Knecht. Roger Knecht helps accounting professionals have the premier accounting firm in their area by offering quality services and getting paid what they are worth. Since 1979, Universal Accounting Center provides trainings, certifications, coaching, and support. Roger is also the host of the podcast, Building the Premier Accounting Firm. Roger, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here.
So last time you were on, was it 2019? Was it pre-COVID?
I think it was.
Yeah, because we actually met in person. What a world. I mean, we're kind of back to it right now, I think.
Oh yeah, I've been traveling quite a bit, meeting. It's awesome. I've been back out on the road, so it's good.
All right, let's do a quick pulse check. So we're in summer. It's 2022. I think it's still 2022.
It is.
You're on the road. Are you seeing the same amount? Are you seeing more? Are you seeing slightly less? What is the range of kind of the folks you're seeing on the road?
I'm going to say same.
Okay.
I would suggest that there's even a surge of people that were bent up for 2 years that wanted to get out. So whether it be in my vacation travels that I've now done or my business travels that I've done, everybody's there. It's not as if things are vacant or whatever. So it's pretty much behind us. There are still some people that are concerned, wearing the masks, being a little preemptive and protective, and that's fine. But yeah, I think we're pretty much back to normal, if I can say that.
Yeah, I guess we made it. I don't know. The last time I said, hey, it's over, I got COVID. I mean, asymptomatically, but so I don't want to jinx myself again, but it feels like, hey, maybe nobody wants to say, hey, it's done, but.
Well, just welcome to the club. You're good.
Yeah, everybody's. Yeah. So
hold on. Everyone's going to get it. Let's just be abundantly clear. You're going to get it. If someone's under the premise of, I'm going to wear the mask and I'm going to be using the Purell and I'm going to try and stay productive, I think you're living in a misguided hope. That's my personal opinion. Definitely nothing professional, but in time, you're going to get it. It's something that's inevitable, in my opinion. It's fine that we flattened the curve and tried to spare the healthcare profession, give those that needed the necessary attention, those people that were perhaps predispositioned to get very ill, the means that they needed to get better. I'm totally for all of that, but to presume that you're somehow going to miss this sickness, it'll eventually get you.
Yeah, well, Roger, you might have got us canceled on Spotify. We'll see what happens now that the episode. No, I joke, but we probably get this really fun banner. But look, I'm glad you're out on the road. I'm glad everybody's doing well. I always like to ask, now that you're back on the road, you're meeting more people. I mean, how are accounting firms feeling? Are they feeling like we made it? Are they feeling like I need a year off? What are you seeing in your day-to-day travels now?
So, of course, I can't speak for everyone, but those that I have spoken with, I'm finding great deal of success, growth. I'm finding very good spirits, optimism. My personal opinion is if you have made it this far, you're going to be fine. And I believe as we go into a recession, you're going to find a lot of business owners again reaching out to the accounting community, again needing the numbers that we offer, again needing the advice that we can provide, and therefore the need for our services is that much more. So I'm finding people are very much in high spirits.
Yeah, I'm very much of the same opinion as you. Whereas a recession feels like for the smart, ambitious accounting firm owner, I mean, something you still have to be mindful of and prepared for, but I mean, this is your time to shine. There's going to be another wave of need, and you better have your systems and processes and value proposition and pricing. Hopefully you've been thinking about some of these things through all these podcast episodes, but this is your time. If this is what we're going into, or many claim we're already here, to kind of talk about, setting up your firm for success. Something we talked about pre-interview, but would love to get your take on is what do you see, or what do you feel are the three, kind of call it core services, that a successful full service accounting firm needs to offer? What does that look like?
Great question. Yeah, the easiest way to describe it is these three core services, and it's basically bookkeeping and accounting services. That's quite obvious. It's perhaps what's expected. It's second, tax planning and preparation. I think the planning is typically overlooked. It should be tax planning and preparation. That's the second. But the third is perhaps the one that's most alluded to, but I don't feel as let's say, best offered maybe as a clear engagement, and that's the CFO and advisory services. So if you're a full service firm, whether you're a solo entrepreneur trying to provide all these services, or you're a growing firm where you have individuals in the office that specialize in each of these specialties with the clients, either way, you should be able to offer to a business owner the bookkeeping and accounting that they need on a monthly basis to say that their financials are in order, that they have the information they need to run the business. You should be doing the tax planning with the client, that throughout the year, leveraging the legal tax strategies that you can to limit the tax liability of that client. And with that, then file the return for the business owner. I mean, you've taken them through the bookkeeping and accounting to the point that 95% of the work is done. You might as well just fill out the forms and file the return. But then that last element that I think is so missed, but at the same time, such a great opportunity for accounting professionals, is the CFO and advisory space. It's getting into that area where you're now more than just the accountant. You're that trusted strategic advisor where you're asking questions, they're leaning on you for perspective. It's that opportunity to have an engagement that's beyond just the traditional bookkeeping and tax services.
Yeah, well, if just thinking about a listener and maybe they're just kind of at the starting gate of building their firm, I
Mhm.
would say there's a rough guideline. So I'm curious to see what you add to it. And by no means is this gospel, but many start out with compliance, bookkeeping, accounting and bookkeeping, and I feel like you would need to get to 3, 4, 500K a year. Maybe it's a little bit less, and then your goal should be, let's hire somebody to run that operation. Like they can just, maybe I step in to do a review, maybe it's 5, 10%, but you are trying to offload that as quickly as possible so you can go into tax planning. Is that the typical path, or you see other people kind of approach it differently?
I see it going many different ways. I
Okay,
work
okay.
I work with individuals that don't offer bookkeeping and tax services, that exclusively offer advisory services, and they're literally doing fractional CFO work. They're business coaches, and that's the space they choose to be in. I see tax preparers that's all they want to do. In fact, I know many a tax preparer that doesn't do any tax planning with clients. They just do the preparations, deal with extensions, and that's all they're dealing with. Obviously, we work with a lot of people that are merely and I say merely, that shouldn't be the word I choose to use, but offer or choose to only do bookkeeping and accounting services. And that's fine. I mean, if that's your business model and that's the space you want to be in, that's completely all right. But when you're going beyond, I just need work and I'm trying to run a business and just be happy with the services I personally can provide, you're able to actually grow a business that's self-sustaining. You're hiring in competent individuals to offer a full suite of services. And that allows you to do, as you're saying, designate somebody, an accountant, CPA, to actually oversee the bookkeeping and accounting side of the business. You've got individuals that can be the tax experts that actually work with the clients from a tax perspective. And this is a team effort. And it's something where it's honestly the tax person bringing in a client that eventually becomes a bookkeeping accounting client. It's an accounting client that brings in a bookkeeping client that becomes a tax client. I mean, there's a synergistic effort that can take place within the business. And as you're building that team, you actually have a very well-sustained business model that, as you mentioned, is that full service accounting business.
Yeah, and it feels like if you're offering one, you really want to evolve. I mean, this is your kind of a multi-year roadmap of probably the
Mhm.
firm you want to become, right? I mean, if you're doing one, and you're like, this full suite makes sense. This is how I get to 5 million, 10 million, 20 million a year, whatever it may be. I really think that kind of sets a high level roadmap of maybe what you want to offer or what you want to maybe buy. Now, how critical it feels like you have to have your niche down if you're going to start expanding service lines. Is that true, or have you seen people go into tax planning and they're like, we do it for everybody? Like if they,
Okay. So I'm going to say yes. I mean, I'm definitely not going to disagree with the niche concept. I actually very much promote the niche concept, but I do want to dispel of, I think, a misconception. To say you niche in the sense that you actually target in your marketing, have the messaging for a specific industry, that you're resonating with a particular client type, that's awesome. That's phenomenal. That means you're going to be, I think, very good in that space of acquiring and taking care of that client type. But it shouldn't mean that you don't have other clients. It shouldn't necessarily, and it doesn't have to mean you don't niche in a second area. a third area. So as you grow your firm, you actually have the luxury of saying, we're going to niche in 2 or 3 spaces and have 2 or 3 expertise. I think too often we're myopic in our thinking to think niching silos us to the point that I have to turn away other opportunities. It's possible you might actually, I'll give you a case in point. Niching, there's a good conversation about the CBD industry, and you're dealing with growers, you're dealing with dispensaries. Well, a person might hear through niching that I only work with growers. And in working with growers, I'm going to just shun away and push away all the distillery, or excuse me, all the dispensaries. Well, why am I doing that? It's still the CBD space. And so I think too often we in the niching messaging realize or miss opportunities to focus. If I'm dealing with dentists, why am I not working with orthodontists? It's kind of like, I just need to tweak that messaging and I can niche both. I can go to the conference for the dentist and I can go to the conference for the orthodontist. I can talk to dentists and I can talk to orthodontists, and the majority of the messaging resonates with both. I just change out one word. So that's, in my opinion, niching, but with the realization that I don't have to feel as if I'm chained and shackled to something specific. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it does sound like you can really overthink
Yeah.
niche, right? Where it's really about feeling like you've selected something that you have enough expertise in, and it's in a big enough market with a high enough willingness to pay, and you can evolve from there. But your point is well said, right? Just because you're with the general dental firms doesn't mean you can't also work with specialty firms. There's a lot of overlap
Yeah.
there.
And what I think we're trying to say here is your business may have to change and adapt, and you need to be open to opportunities. And if you're so myopic to believe that I've chosen a niche and I'm going to be stubborn and stick with that niche and forego opportunities that may present themselves, I'm just suggesting be open. Be at least willing to consider, and that's fine. But niching, getting your messaging so it's very clear and specific, that your messaging resonates with your audience. It's back to that avatar discussion of, do you know who your ideal client is? All that's very true. I think your messaging can't be broad, or shouldn't be broad. It obviously can be, but it shouldn't be broad to where you're really not resonating with anyone. Let's make it so that you're maybe a little gender specific, a little personality type specific, a little industry specific, and those keywords within the vocabulary help you then have a message that's unique to that audience, and hence you're now niching.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Really, so the talk of the town is tax planning. And it feels like, every week now I kind of hear about tax planning. It makes so much sense because, I mean, if you're doing these returns, you're seeing the data right there. The client's not going to take it upon themselves to think about tax planning. It feels like the information's right there for the firm. I don't know if you can really answer this, bit of a curveball, but like, why are more folks not going into tax planning? It's like you have the manual right there. You know how to fly the plane. Is it a pricing challenge? Is it a positioning challenge? Why are folks not leaning into tax planning? It feels like such a value add for clients.
So this might be a little lengthier of a conversation than you want to have, so I'm going to try and answer it. One, there is a huge distinction between tax planning and tax preparation. And to your point, why aren't people going into the planning side? Because there's so much revenue to be made there because of that service. Well, my personal opinion is why people sometimes struggle going there is tax preparation. You can make great money merely offering that service, where you're just filing the returns and moving on to the next client and getting the money. It's got an excellent hourly rate. You've got the simplicity of just churn and burn and go through those clients. I mean, there is that mentality, and I think that's a business model worth considering. But I believe tax planning has gotten its traction because of all this talk in the last number of years about value pricing. All of a sudden, people are starting to realize, if I can go into a client and with the understanding I have of tax law and the strategies I can bring into, and I'm just going to throw out a few, you've got R&D tax credits, you've got cost segregation type strategies that you can use with properties. You can deal with conservation easement type opportunities. There's a lot of tax strategy that when you get into those spaces, it's sexy. You can go to a business owner and say, hey, we can actually be strategic and with a lot of decision making here, save tens, if not hundreds, if not perhaps millions of dollars if we just make these decisions. Well, realize the time and effort that it took to save a company $10,000 is possibly the exact same amount of time to save them hundreds, if not millions of dollars. Okay. So hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars took the same effort as that tens of thousands of dollars tax savings. I'm going to ask for a percent. And so instead of filing the return and making a few $1,000 for that tax return, I'm now making, say, $10,000, $20,000 for the tax services that I provided to that client in the tax planning that I did over the course of the year from a strategic point of view. That becomes really sexy and appealing. But understand your job just changed. It's no longer the return you're doing. It's meeting with the client. It's making, asking questions to help business decisions be made. It's changing their business model to adapt to the tax law as it exists today. And that takes strategy. It takes time. It takes education on the business owner's part. It takes education on your part so that you're comfortable about that advice you're providing. So it's a different space. And so I think for some people, they're like, I'm just going to stay back. But for those that choose to dive into it, that tiptoe into the planning, I think it's personally fun. I like the game of it, the creativity of it, the strategy of it.
Yeah, it's well said. Your job changes. I think that is the big shift where you're used to data getting in, you're processing data, to becoming, frankly, more of a people person. You're having these conversations, you're asking uncomfortable questions. I mean, it is actually a sizable shift. I think it's a great call out to, we're talking about all these different things you could be doing in your firm, all these opportunities we talk about today, other episodes. If I'm a firm owner, I mean, what questions should I be asking to help me identify what is the priority in our business, in our firm? So many things going on. How do I zero in on what's the priority to move forward?
Beautiful. I love it, because with that earlier comment that we had about the recession and the opportunity, this is the question we should all be asking ourselves about our firms. And it's 3 questions. I ask this every time I have a conversation with a business owner about their firm as to what that next opportunity is. And so the question is simply this, and I ask 3. First, are you in a position that you want and need more clients? Are you trying to grow the business? And if that's what you're trying to do, that's great. Now, in growing the business, that might be more bookkeeping clients, tax clients, advisory clients. It's just, do you need more clients? Some people are going to say, you know what, I'm plenty busy. I do not need any more clients. Great. That takes us to the second question. Are you in a position where you feel that your pricing is not where it should be, that you could actually get paid more for the services you're providing today? Now, in some instances, in order to charge more, I need to actually start offering some more value to justify that price change I'm going to now extend to my client base. So that question of, am I getting paid what I'm worth, becomes a very good question. Now, that element really stems around the services we're providing. Am I doing the taxes for the accounting clients that I have? Am I seeing opportunities to move into the advisory space and start offering advisory services? So am I charging and offering to my clients the services they need? And so that's a pretty big discussion. Now, some people are going to say, 1, I don't need any more clients. 2, I love what I do. I don't want to offer any new services. I'm good with the pricing. I think I'm paid fairly for my services. So I don't need more, and I'm good at what I do, and I'm paid fairly. That brings me to the third one. I'm working too much. I'm too busy. I'd like to actually be more profitable. So now we're into an issue of time and money. I want to be more efficient, and hence still charge the same amount of money doing the same work for the same clients I have, but I'd like to do it quicker and more efficiently and faster. Brings us to something like Jetpack. What we're doing is we're in a situation now where we're dealing with processes, systems. We're needing to delegate more. And so if we can find which of those 3 areas of our business is the place that is either the biggest challenge or opportunity in our business's evolution, that's where we need to put all of our time and attention. If it's growing the business, getting more clients, let's do that. If it's going out and offering more services so we can actually increase the average revenue per client, great, let's do that. If it's, I'm plenty busy and I've got a lot of clients, let's figure out how to do this more efficiently, smarter. Let's figure out how to actually charge what we're still charging, but go home and have Fridays off, work 4 10s. It's whatever that may be. It's now that life question, perhaps. And when I have that conversation with business owners, that clarity that comes to mind of, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do now. I know what part of my business I need to hone in on. All of a sudden, that clarity gets them excited about the next steps.
Yeah, well, and what I love about that is, like, if a firm owner can move the needle on one of those per year,
Mhm.
not one a week, not one a month. I mean, more power to you if you can do it. Most people can't, so don't go there. But one a year,
Mhm.
you open up your eyes in a couple of years, you're like, I love this firm. And
Oh,
I've seen
yeah.
so many firm owners that are on the brink of selling a suboptimal price or trying to do other kind of Hail Marys. I see this all the time where it's like, I'm not doing well, you're not doing well, let's merge and we can both not do well together. Right? It's like the craziest like math
It,
equation I've ever seen.
unless with the merger, you get one person that's excellent at the sales and marketing that can do client acquisition. And you've got another person that's excellent at offering quality services where they're saying, hey, you don't like taxes, I like taxes. You can get clients, I can do the bookkeeping and tax work. And all of a sudden, that synergy could be the difference for that business. So I will give them that.
Yeah, I'll give them credit for that. I mean, that is the kind of a slam dunk when you could find someone that complements, they do acquisition, you do fulfillment, or maybe they do a CFO practice and you're doing the other components and you're
Mhm.
saying, look, we work super well together. I mean, we've seen a lot of success stories in I run a successful practice focused on this. You run a successful practice focused on this. Maybe we can come together and offer a full suite of services. I
Mhm.
guess what I was, kind of dunking on, if you will, was I run a firm. It's not doing well. You run almost the exact same kind of firm, and it's not doing well. Maybe if we combine, something magical will happen. I don't know. And I've seen a couple of those where you're like,
Yeah.
there's culture clashes. Nobody's happy. It's like nobody. I don't know. It's so that's the one I would want to avoid.
Well, the point of that is in that merger, it has to be clear what's expected of each of the players. It has to be clear what their key performance metric is. And knowing that KPI, each can then focus on delivering what's expected of them in the business. And so it's not bad that both partners come together. It's a question of, do they have clarity as to what each of them are supposed to be doing in the firm?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know we're going to wrap up here soon. I want to, allow people to be able to reach out, grab some resources. I know you have a bunch of them. Final question, kind of wrap everything up. What would you say are the two keys to success in accounting if you had to list them out?
Very simple: confidence and competence. You've got to have the confidence to be able to look a business owner in the eye and say, I can do what you need, and believe that you can do the bookkeeping, the accounting, the tax planning and preparation, the CFO and advisory services, that you have something that will benefit that business owner. If you can look a business owner in the eye, peer to peer, and say, I can take care of your accounting needs, your tax needs, that's the first thing. So often that insecurity can bleed through to that eye contact and that ability to boldly say, I can do this, and get the engagement. So confidence is the first one. Competence, I really think that, first of all, you have to have the skills, the abilities to do whichever of the services you're offering. But I'm not going to necessarily challenge an individual on whether or not the numbers are accurate. The financials, let's assume that they're accurate. The tax return, let's assume it's a good tax return. What I'm challenging, though, is the competency to do it efficiently. If it's taking you 10 hours to do a job that should take 3 hours, you're not making the money you could. And because of the fact that you're inefficient, you're not using proper processes, procedures, tools to do your profession well, you're never going to earn what you're deserving of. And therefore, it really comes to that production side of the business. Once you've acquired the client, how well are you able to deliver and do that work efficiently so that you can do so profitably?
Yeah, and just to put a note on the confident one, I know that's hard for a lot of people, and I'm telling you, you can do simple things like literally just practice the conversation in the mirror with the client. Tell it to yourself first before you tell it to your client. People won't go out of their way to spend 30 seconds or 2 minutes to do that, but it makes a world of difference if it's not your first time saying it in front of the client,
Mhm.
when you go out and meet them. So, Rogers has been a real treat. We could talk for hours. You're on for a second time. There'll probably be a third, fourth, and fifth. here in the future. If somebody wants to reach out to you, connect with all the work that you're doing with Universal, what is the best way for them to do so?
Love to connect on LinkedIn. That would be amazing. Happy to meet anyone that way. Definitely visit us at universalaccounting.com. You can find information about my podcast there that I'd be happy to have you listen in on and subscribe to. But there's also some free resources, a number of free resources for accounting professionals that they can access there. They're literally free for you as an accounting professional to use as you're working on your business. And it ranges from a turnkey business plan to such ebooks as Red to Black, the cash flow services that you should be offering with clients. I mean, there's a variety of things there that I would have invite your people to listen and take advantage of.
Wonderful. So if you're listening, go to universalaccounting.com. We're going to do a full summary write up at jetpackworkflow.com/blog. That's jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We're going to link everything up. We're going to link your LinkedIn. We're going to link up the website. We're going to do a full summary talking about the key elements from today. If you enjoyed this interview, leave a 5-star review, helps us get a word out. And if you loved it, you're like, wow, Roger really said something that connected with me. Share it with a fellow firm owner that needed to hear this. I know that would mean the world to Roger and myself. And Roger, thanks again for coming back on.
You bet. Hey, just remember, if it's about accounting, it's universal.